The manager, not so wisely, pointed to the back of the store and said, "You guys go in the back and solve this now." Which was one of the worst things that he could have done. So 10 minutes later, I get a phone call. The woman said that while they were arguing, the guy leaned over and licked her on her cheek.
The hell? You are now listening to the podcast where authors inspire listeners to become authors, the Going North Podcast. I'm your host, certified self-leadership trainer, best-selling author, and book enthusiast, DomBrightmon. And you're going to be listening to a different author that will inspire you to join the business of immortality, known as authorship. Now let the fun begin. Today's episode is sponsored by both books, Going North, Tips and Techniques to Advance Yourself, and the follow-up bestseller, Stay the Course, The Elite Performer's 7 Secret Keys to Sustainable Success. Head over to Amazon.com, pick up both books. They are available in a trifecta of paperback, audio, and ebook. Cop all three of both and be on the lookout for another book from yours truly to help podcasters succeed. Now let's get on with today's episode. And today on the highlight reel builder for authors known as GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, the Going North Podcast, we got another super special, awesome human for you today, courtesy of my good buddy Mike Sheila, who linked us up. My God, I think it's been, oh man, wow, 6 years? God, 6, 7, 8 years? Which I still can't freaking believe. And it's like, oh man, it's like my man is a walking book of wisdom, y'all. That's right, indeed, because my man has finally joined the business of immortality. Because let me tell you a bit about him, because he's a fellow Baltimorean, baby. That's right, indeed. He's a wonderful father, a husband, a mentor, a coach, keynote speaker, and an entrepreneur. So let's give it up for the RB. And we're not talking about running back, but we're talking about the one and only Rod Bourn. How you doing today, Rod?
Dom, I am awesome. Thank you so much for having me on. It's great to be with you, partner.
Woohoo! It's great to have you on, my man. Congratulations, man. Book is finally out, the first of many.
Yeah. Actually working on number 2 right now. Excited about that. And book number 1 was a lot of fun. So lots to look forward to still, mate.
Fun indeed. Heck, even reading the first page. It was hilarious as it is. It's like, yeah, I guess my man had fun with this one.
The forward on that, yeah.
It's like, why are you reading this anyway?
Hey man, if you can't have fun reading or doing or whatever, then don't do it, right?
That's right, indeed. Especially when there's a mountain involved, right?
Exactly.
It ain't about mountains, it's about the wonderful Rod himself, man. So my goodness, as with all introductions, they're not allowed to be 3 days, 0.85 years long. So I'm filling in any cavities I may have missed about you that makes you the Rod that you are today, since your first time on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So like you said, Baltimore born and raised, love Charm City. I had a career that started in human resources only because I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I had to claim a major. And the girl I was dating at the time, she said, "I'm in HR. You'd be great for HR." And I said, "Okay." And that's how I selected my major. And 15 years later, didn't have any hair, and I blame that on human resources. So I'm serious, man. Years and years of doing primarily investigations on idiots who are 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, acting like 3, 4, 5, 6-year-olds that can't get along in the sandbox. Am I right? And
Yeah.
and I finally said, forget this. It was ridiculous. So 15 years started off my career in HR, and then a mentor of mine said, we've got a job over for you, local college. that you'd be a great fit at, she thought, and that was running the non-credit business area for them. And she was right, thank goodness. And I had a great run there, 10 or so years, contract training. I learned a lot, and it was really a lot of fun. Great ride at the college. And but you know, Dom, how even a good thing gets old after a while, and I needed a little bit more, and I thought I'm ready to go out on my own. And that's what I did. I created Downset Lead, which actually was the name of the book. Book came, at least the book name came before the company, and then the company came along, and then I finally published the book. But that's what I've been doing since, is doing consulting for businesses. I have a couple of signature programs. One's on in-house mentoring, which I love to do because I believe that mentoring is kind of the panacea for a lot of the ills of what's going on in the earth, and coaching on top of that. So speaking engagements, in-house programs with companies, and coaching is what I'm doing these days. And I am blessed. I really am, because I love what I'm doing.
Woohoo! That's what I'm talking about. Escape the wonderful world of HR. He's like, let me try to reclaim this hair. Oh no, it's not happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey,
Dom,
I was
I look in the mirror every morning and I go, you know, and just hope that a couple of hairs poke up out of the top of my head, and has yet to happen. Has yet to happen.
I guess the college kids' youth wasn't helping much either, I guess.
Nope, 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 nope. So, but yeah, so that's what I've been up to.
Hey, but it's all good in the neighborhood indeed, because the good news is it's like you got stories for days upon years, which is
Oh,
freaking
I
amazing.
do. I do. You know, I've got one, probably the most ridiculous one, Dom, was I was working for a clothing company, and they had stores everywhere because all the outlets. And because they were everywhere, they really didn't get the kind of attention that they needed in terms of training and how to be professional and all that. And there were these two guys that worked in one store. They were very good friends, but they relentlessly teased one another. And then they hired a young woman, and she jumped into the fray. So the guys are going back and forth verbally, and she starts jumping in, and they're like, no, 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 you do not want a part of this. She goes, oh no, I want a part of this. And they're like, okay, you're in. And so the three of them started, you know, in the store back and forth between the three of them. And finally, one of the guys crossed the line with her, and they got into a real argument. And the manager, so it was the assistant manager and the young lady, and the manager, not so wisely, pointed to the back of the store and said, you guys go in the back and solve this now. Which was one of the worst things that he could have done. So 10 minutes later, I get a phone call. The woman said that while they were arguing, the guy leaned over and licked her on her cheek.
The hell?
And I know. And I'm like, I can't think of any time I've ever been in an argument with anyone. And my next thought was, I need to lick this person on the cheek. So, but Dom, this is the stuff that when you're in HR, you have to do investigations on, because the truth is stranger than fiction. Now, do I ultimately believe that he leaned over and licked her? No. Maybe some spittle got on her, but I don't think that he leaned over and licked her. But anyway, all three were fired just because they didn't know how to play like big boys and girls in the sandbox.
That's freaking hilarious. It's like, oh,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You know, and honestly, that's where my idea to write a book came from, was after, you know, having gone through several of these types of crazy interactions. I'm like, I should just write a book about all of the zany stuff that happens in HR. And that's what I did. And for years, Dom, I collected all these little stories. I changed the name to protect the guilty and everything else. Then life started happening, meaning, you know, having kids and getting married, and well, not in that order, but the book just kind of went off the side. And then eventually I picked it back up, and I said, I'm not in HR anymore, so it's not like I've got tons of stories just hitting me every month here. And I was looking at my notes. I was like, this really is about leadership or lack thereof in a lot of these cases. Maybe I should make this into a leadership book with lots of fun stories in it. And that's ultimately what came. And I like football. And so we put a football theme to it. And we got a couple of people who were involved with the NFL who wrote little reflections about the points in the book. And so we've got those in there as well. So it's a fun read. It has all kinds of, I think, important points. I think it's great for a newer or even mid-level manager who wants to become a better leader and have some laughs. And I've got movie quotes at the beginning of every chapter because I like movies a lot. And that's where that whole book idea came from, was investigating, people who were alleged backroom lickers.
Maybe that's why it took a while to write the book. It's like, yeah, downset lick, baby. Wait, no, not downset lick.
Oh, good one, Dom. Good downset lick. Oh, geez. I can tell you what, it probably would have gotten more, as people are walking by it in the bookstore, they'll probably linger longer and look at that title. Like, do I really want to pick that up? Part of me really wants to pick that up, but I don't know that I really want to pick that up.
Yeah, exactly. First thing that comes to mind would be like, are they talking about the Mark Sanchez butt fumble? Is that what this is about?
Oh, yeah. Oh, geez. Poor Mark. It wasn't like he was an absolute horrible quarterback, but he's going to be known for one thing.
Exactly. Because he was a pretty good quarterback. Like, it's just short lived and probably had too much turkey that day. But the good news is this book is about helping. Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
No. I was just going to say downset butt, but you get rid of it.
Yeah, that's right, dude. But the
That's
good
what he
news
did.
is, darn right, is what he did.
Oh, poor guy.
The good news is this book ain't about is about helping folks to avoid situations like that, my man. So how is the process like for putting the book together? Because I know there's probably a bunch of stories you didn't add to the book since you had some
Yeah.
contributing folks to the book.
Yeah. So it was really interesting. This, of course, was my first book. And so I didn't have a lot to go on, but there were a lot of good people out there like you who had shared their experiences and what to do, what not to do, where to go. And, and that goes back to my belief in mentoring. That you'll hardly anyone will ever invent anything for the very first time, but we can all work on improvements of things, or um, just making better versions of something. But really, just kind of learning the best way for me to write a book, and probably the best example I can give that, Dom, is I'm one of these people who's comfortable talking, and I talk a lot, and I can talk kind of fast, and I think even faster than I talk. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but I can't write to keep up with my thoughts, not fast enough. And so what I learned was it was a lot easier for me to capture my thoughts if I went for a walk and I carried my phone with me and I recorded myself, and I did basically talk to text and then email the text that was captured, and then edit that in my email and transfer that over into my document. And that's how I wrote a lot of the book. Is I would just kind of focus for several minutes about, okay, the topic that we want to talk about is owning the process, or is weighing your prospects, all those different things. Okay. And I would get in the mindset, okay, Rod, that's what you want to focus on. Let's go for a walk. And I would go for a walk around my neighborhood, and I would just let kind of stream of consciousness take over. And because I had thought about what I wanted to write about, it came rather quickly and fairly clearly, but I still needed to be able to capture that and then edit it. And as I was editing it, I could clean it all up. and it made the process go a lot faster and smoother for me.
Sweet. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. And it's good you picked up on that too, because that probably helped you to finally join the business of immortality a lot quicker. Oh,
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
sweet. That's right, indeed. My man's immortal laws and history, indeed. So, my goodness, how was the process like for really putting it all together? Did you work with the wonderful editor to finally get the acrostics down properly? Because, my
Yep.
goodness, the way
Yep.
it's organized is perfect.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. So, yeah, I'm kind of lucky in my background. Both of my parents were educators. They were teachers, English teachers, actually, which for the most part was very helpful in a lot of ways. But it also really ticked me off sometimes. As I was a teenager, I loved to tell jokes, and I would go into my parents, wherever they were sitting, in the living room one night, and I'd be like, "Hey, you guys want to hear a joke?" Like, "Yeah, sure." This guy walks into the store. Guy walked into a store. Okay, he walked into the store and he said, jokes need to be told in past tense. I'm like, do you want to hear the joke or not? But that was the kind of like learning I had in the house, not just as I was going to school for however many years. But so I was lucky with that. But yeah, everybody needs an editor. And editors need editors. The guy who I went to for editing has a background for doing that. It's not his first job, but he is, he's former journalist. He's an author himself. So 3 times he looked at my manuscript. Even after my manuscript, I took it to somebody else, and they caught things that he missed. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the biggest key for new authors is don't think that what you have written down in your final draft is gold and can't be improved upon, because it certainly can. Other people can improve upon it. You can improve upon it. I know that I'm going to be going back to this book in a couple of years, and I'm going to be updating it, and I'm going to be changing. I'm thinking, why did I say it that way? Because what I really wanted to say was this. But finding the editor, and there are lots of publishers out there. And Dom, it is really easy to spend a lot of money on going through this whole process. The editorial process, that costs money. The publishing process can cost a lot of money. And there are a lot of promises that are made out there. And I don't know if this is a good thing or bad thing. I think it's a good thing. It's not like I've got a lot of play money to throw around. So I had to be very, very careful about where I took my business to. I needed to make sure that it was someone who had been through the process, didn't sell me something more than what I really needed. Because there are people out there like, oh yeah, we'll have you doing this and that, boom, boom, boom. And I had talked to people who they had worked with, and of course they give you the names of the people that think that those publishers or whoever are absolutely wonderful. But I was able to find other people who had worked with them and didn't have necessarily glowing things to say. And I was able to get all of this done for under $2,500. And I that was fine with me. And honestly, one of the biggest expenses was I threw a party afterwards, and I hired a friend of mine who videotapes and uploads and everything. We had a live event on Facebook, and I had a lot of my friends come out, and we just kind of celebrated. It was at a friend of mine's bar. We had the upstairs, and I had to pay for the food for that. But that was a party that I wanted to have to celebrate, because it had taken such a long time for me to write the book. It felt like a major accomplishment for me. And so that was one of the biggest expenses, was just throwing myself a party to celebrate. But you need to do that also. You need to celebrate your wins when you finally reached the top of the mountain, planted the flag. You've got to give yourself an attaboy and attagirl slap on the back, a little bit of a party, celebrate, and everything else. But it really is, find other people who are authors, and ask them about the process. Ask them for suggestions, ask them for recommendations, and you'll save yourself a lot of time and even more money, I think.
Woohoo! That's right, indeed. Save yourself that time and that money, indeed. And congrats, man. 'Cause that's good, man. Like $2,500 is a solid investment, indeed, all together when it's all said and
Oh,
done.
it is. Yeah, Dom, now I don't know about this for you, but my goal for my first book was I knew this is not going to be a New York Times bestseller. There are ways to get best-selling ranks on Amazon. So for a moment in time, you're a bestseller, you're a top 10 or whatever, and I was able to do that with my book. But for new authors, it's really about creating a super powered business card, because I can walk into potential clients and I can say, hey, my name's Rod Bourn and I do consulting and I do coaching and I do in-house mentoring programs and all this, and can sound really good and hand them my card. But if I can hand them a book and say I'm an author and I'm a best-selling author, and here's a copy of my book, there's a lot more cachet with that, and people take you a lot more seriously. And so it is an investment, $2,500, but I have already reaped that back. I've made that back, I think, just because of my book. People have read it, they've been excited about it, they've asked me to come in and give a talk, or have brought me in to do a training session for their team. So it's an investment, but it's one that will pay back for sure.
Woohoo! And that's the name of the game, baby. That's right, indeed.
Yes, it
No
is.
pun
Yes, it
intended.
is. Mm-hmm.
That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. And my goodness, especially with that, like my goodness, like all the stuff that like the book really entails, because like there's a lot of folks out there who's probably looking to get into leadership now, and especially with all the employment opportunities for those who probably want to just jump into it, like even entrepreneurship. There's still some
Oh yeah.
things that apply on both ends, and the mentorship piece, like that's I like how you get dedicated a lot of time to that, indeed. So my goodness, what was probably the major mentorship gem that you've learned in your life that helped you to become the Rod that you are today?
Probably the biggest gem is you always need a mentor. Always. And when I do training on this, I give talk about this. I talk about how it doesn't matter whether you're 15, 35, 65, you need a mentor. And you should always be able to, at any time, be able to point to who your professional mentor is and who your personal mentor is. And I would challenge the listeners to think about that for a minute and say, you should be able to immediately answer. Right now, my professional mentor is blank, and I am learning blank from them. And they should be able to say, my personal mentor is blank because I am learning blank from them. And if you can't fill in all of those blanks, you need to, my opinion, if you want to grow, you need to be able to fill in those blanks all the time. Now, your mentors will change when you are done learning from them, but then you need to find a new mentor because you're going to learn something else. You need to learn something else. Life gets really boring if you don't challenge yourself to try something new, try to learn stuff. So no matter where you are, no matter when you are, you need to have two mentors.
Oh, that's right, indeed. You can't have the jelly without the peanut butter, right?
That's right. That's absolutely right. Peanut butter is what keeps it all sticking together, man.
That's
Especially if
right,
it's crunchy.
indeed.
I like crunchy.
There you go. That's right, indeed. Gotta
How
make sure
about
it's
you? Are you
crunchy, indeed.
crunchy or creamy? Crunchy or
Uh,
creamy, Dom?
More of the creamy guy for me. I've had the crunch
Are you?
before, but
Okay.
it's like, nah, cream.
You are pretty smooth, though. You are smooth, so that makes sense.
There we go. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. That's right. Making sure the butter is jealous because it ain't the peanut butter.
Oh, geez. The great thing about peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you can also pick what flavor jelly you want. Doesn't always have to be grape. Grape is great, But I mean, apple, strawberry, you can go crazy and do apple butter. Yeah, apple butter and peanut butter, peach butter and peanut butter. I'm getting hungry.
So I guess one of the side effects of being on this podcast finally kicked in early. All right. So I'm sorry. So my goodness, man, since you're in this entrepreneurial journey now, doing the full-time entrepreneurship, there's going to be setbacks along the way. And I know we had the giant elephant in the world in the wonderful 2020. So my goodness, there's
Yeah.
probably setbacks upon setbacks. Was there a major setback, heck, maybe even in life too, that may actually have been so huge that it actually ended up setting you up for success?
Yeah. I would say that the frustration of having to change virtually everything up. I started my business in 2018, so I had a couple of years before COVID hit and took its impact, and obviously changed the game for just about everybody. And having to learn, okay, let's learn Zoom or Teams or whatever, and figure out how to do this. Um, for me, it was learning how to effectively speak and train people online, and I can do it. I don't think that anybody is as good online as they are in person, but maybe that's my generation speaking. But I think that in person is more impactful for a variety of reasons. We can get in that if you want to. But learning how to do that, I always felt, Dom, I was a decent speaker, but it made me an even better speaker. And learning how to pace myself when I'm online helps me pace myself better when I'm in person. And again, just okay, how am I selling? I can't go door to door necessarily anymore. I can't meet people at networking events. So how am I taking selling online? How am I making those meetings happen? And what do I need to do to adjust in my pitch when I'm talking to potential clients? And now that I've learned those tools, I can, I can get better at them. I mean, you can always get better at everything, right? You just have to figure out where you need to focus your attention, where are you not getting traction. And again, it just goes back to finding a mentor. If what you need is to get better traction in selling, find somebody who's a really good salesperson. And it's not that difficult, man, because all you got to do is, wow, I wish I could sell like Dom. I mean, Dom is super smooth. He's got his own podcast. He is the man. He's the author. He's the legend. I'm going to reach out to Dom. And I got one question. Dom, can we get together for a cup of coffee and just pick your brain about some things? And Dom, what's the one thing that everybody loves to talk about? Themselves. And so,
Yep.
kind people like Donald, like, sure, you're buying the coffee, I'm there. And we've done this a couple of times because now my trick. Like, I need to learn from people. Dom's awesome. Let me reach out to Dom. Dom is an awesome person. Dom, actually, true story. Dom's met me twice for coffee, and part of it is just fellowship and getting to know more about each other, but also it's picking Dom's brain. What do I do? How do I do this? Do you know anybody? Boom, boom, boom. And that's all part of it. When you come up to something, don't get all in a frazzle trying to figure it out by yourself. Find someone who's done it and go ask them. Grab a cup of coffee with them, ask them to share what they are willing to share, and then go try it. And you don't have to do that with just one person. You can go find other people. You can go find a Mike Sheila and ask him too. And then you take all the cool stuff that Dom's got, all the cool stuff Mike's got, you apply it to yourself and you make it your own, right? Because that's ultimately what you want to do. People love authenticity. One of the reasons that we love your podcast is you are you are one of the most authentic people I know, my friend. You really are. You are the real you. And people dig that. People love authenticity. So don't be afraid to be yourself.
Woohoo! Appreciate that indeed. That's right indeed. And folks, like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
make this podcast a lot easier because it's like, all right, cool. My man's already one of those SMEs, one of those subject matter experts. He doesn't mind having
yeah.
fun too. So it's like, yeah, all right, good.
Exactly, exactly. And if you aren't having fun, Dom, you need to look at why you're doing something. I mean, every day can't be, a bowl of Cheerios, bowl of Fruit Loops, but if you aren't enjoying what you're doing, if you are waking up every day and like, oh my God, this absolutely sucks, then you got to figure out a plan to change that.
That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Or you might run across the right person to have you wake up the next day in the cornfields. And then it's like, never really gonna have you have some
Why is this cow laying next to me? Oh, it's
God
just the
forbid.
milk for the Cheerios. Okay, just the milk for the Cheerios. Okay.
There we go. He's a 5-star guest. He made a call back. I love it.
All righty.
So my goodness, my goodness. So since you've been on a few interviews promoting the great work that you're doing, is there a question that you wish folks would ask you more often?
The question I wish folks would ask me more of is how can I become a better me? Because I think that that's really what this world is all about. And I don't know that I can give a great answer to everybody that asks me that question, but I love sitting down with people and helping them figure it out. One of the things I do is I mentioned is coaching. I love especially working with young people because, like I said, I had such difficulty figuring out what I wanted to be when I grow up. And I know, Dom, that I am not the only person who feels that way when, they were just getting out of school, whether it's high school or college, and I don't know what I want to be when I grow up, and I've got all this pressure. I got to pick something, blah blah blah. But I love helping people figure out what it is that they want to be when they grow up. And again, it doesn't matter whether you're 15, 35, 65. We're all still growing, and I love just sitting down, talking to people, and hearing what it is that's on their mind and helping them get clarity on it. That's what I love. I love doing that. So whether it's for an individual or a company that's trying to get themselves better, you should always be asking yourself, what can I do, to get better? And I love having that one-on-one with people.
Woohoo! That's right indeed. Having that one-on-one indeed. That's right indeed. That's right. You can't spell born without better. Helping folks to get better, baby. That's right indeed.
That is true.
That's right indeed. Name of the game is better and not butter.
Right.
Unless it's peanut
Let's
butter.
let's peanut butter or apple butter or peach butter because that's the stuff that keeps your family together.
That's right. Together and peachy.
Hmm. Exactly. Exactly.
So speaking of peachy, if your wonderful book Down Said Lead, the ultimate playbook for building your leadership confidence, if that book were a food, what would it be and why?
If the book were a food, I think I have to say peanut butter and jelly sandwich right at this point. If this it would probably be, and I'm only saying this because I love it. It would be a chocolate dessert because it goes down easy and it makes you smile. So I like to think I've got a good sense of humor. I like to think that that comes out in the book. I've had people tell me, folks that know me well enough, they're like, I can hear your voice as I'm reading this, uh, because it's definitely in my style, and it's not a long read. I think it's 125 pages or so, so it's easily digestible. You'll enjoy it, I think. Movie quotes, vignettes from football players, football coaches, football um, uh, higher ups. I've got a guy who was the president of the Minnesota Vikings giving some insights in this book. So yeah, I would say something. Let's go with a chocolate mousse, Dom. A chocolate mousse, light, sweet, yummy, goes down well.
That's what I'm talking about. Funny enough, you're the first one to call the book Chocolate Mousse. That's right, indeed.
Mousse. That's funny.
Well, unless you have a cookbook, most folks aren't going to think it tastes. Let's hit all 5 of the senses here. It's the food for the mind for a reason, right?
Exactly. Exactly. I love it. I love it.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed. As I'm talking about, indeed. But before a random chocolate monster appears, we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive. And that is if it'll wake up tomorrow and you were 25 again, but you're still in the current year. Well, what advice would you give to yourself?
If I was 25, do I know what I know now, or am I a 25-year-old?
Yeah, you're
Do I have
basically
25?
25
No.
with all of your
Okay.
knowledge, and your wife would be considered
Oh
a
wow.
cougar.
Oh wow. Well, that'd be my next question. Am I still married to my 40-something-year-old wife?
Yep, should be
Because
considered a
that
cradle
makes a big
robber.
difference, Tom. That makes a big difference. Honey, I'm home. Oh, you're a lot younger, honey. Yes, I am. Take those vitamins. Uh, um, oh my gosh. What advice would I give to myself? It would be learn as much as you can about AI, um, because I think that that's carrying us to we're going into a whole new about the Stone Age, the Information Age, and the Nuclear Age, and we are going into a new age with AI. And the faster you can get your arms wrapped around that, because it's going to impact everything, I think, Dom, it would be learn as much as you can about AI.
There we go. And he ain't just talking about practice either.
Yeah, for sure. hmm
That's right, indeed. This ain't about practice, all about the real game, baby. That's right, indeed.
hmm
That's right, indeed. And if y'all need the playbook to get through the game of life, especially the leadership part of life, my man Rod's got you covered for down said lead, baby. That's right, indeed. So for those need to avoid the lick part of the lead and keep up with all the stuff that you're doing, what's the best way for folks to do so?
I love LinkedIn. So you reach out to me there. It's Rod as in hot golden lightning. Rod, thank you for getting that. Bourn as in Jason's younger brother. Taught him everything I know. I got out of the service, but there's no E on the end of my last name, so it's Bourn. LinkedIn, I love connecting with people there. And then, of course, um, the good thing about that, you can start messaging each other, and you can go back and, oh, okay, I met Dominic back in 2018, and we had coffee in December of 2018, and then I talked to him again in February 2019, and boom, boom. So I love LinkedIn for that reason. And so if anybody wants to reach out, please do. If they're interested in looking at the book, go check it out on Amazon. It's Downset Lead, the ultimate playbook for building your leadership confidence. And I would love to meet, talk, because you can never have enough friends out there. Am I right or am I right?
He's right. He's triple R. He's right, right, and right.
Am I right or am I right or am I right? Do you know where that comes from? That line, Dom? Am I right or am I right or am I right? It's from my second all-time favorite movie, Groundhog Day, where he is walking down the street and the insurance salesman comes up to him. He's like, "I bet you don't have enough insurance. Am I right? Am I right? Am I right?" And if I can, that you and I were talking about this before we hit record here. I am writing a second book, and that second book is life lessons learned from Bill Murray movies. and we talk about Groundhog Day for sure. So hopefully look for that by the end of 2023, hopefully. All the things I needed to know I learned watching Bill Murray movies. Am I right? Or am I right? Or am I right?
Well, it sounds like round 2 of you back on Going North is going to be even better, and this was pretty good.
Yeah, baby. I had a good time. Thank you. Thank you.
So there you have it, folks. So cop some copies of Rod's book. Share it with your friends, family, cat, dog, penguin. Share with the camel. Heck, even share with the wonderful penguin that's riding a camel across the desert to the foreign land to teach leadership, baby. That's right, indeed, because penguins need leadership too, and camels do too. They got them humps for a reason. That's right, indeed. It ain't just Fergie, y'all. It's the camels too. So make sure you share with everybody so that way they can down, sit, and lead to success. Indeed. So, my goodness, any parting words before we close up shop, my friend?
I just want to say thank you, partner. I mean, it's been a gift to know you. I appreciate every time we get to chat because it makes me a better person. Just keep being you, brother, because we need you.
If you're hearing this part of the episode, that means you're one cool individual. Thanks a bunch for tuning in, and if you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to share it with at least one other person in your network. Bonus points for 3. And be sure to check out the backlog too while you're at it, because there are hundreds of wonderful episodes to choose from as well.